Okay, we're kind of setting up for a bit of a dawn raid against some unlucky biters, and today we have, because we want to talk about them, a bunch of landmines. We've got 4,000 landmines. Let's remember that number because it's going to be important later, because this is not the most efficient strategy, although landmines themselves are pretty cheap. This recipe gets you 4 landmines out, and it does require oil. That's fine. They're one of the fairly early techs that you can rush with your first oil if you're worried about the combat stuff in either a default settings or death world or maybe even a speedrun. Uh, Landmines end up being the offensive option though, which is kind of interesting in comparison to the flamethrower tower. The important thing is that there's a time before they arm in which they are valid targets for biters to attack. So this might be a bad thing if you're being chased by a bunch of dudes and you kind of want to put the landmines down behind you so that these guys will explode, but they're over the landmines before the landmines are armed. So in that case, you might want to put the landmines down in front of you so that the landmines are more likely to be armed when the biters are running over them, or just double back and like weave around and all that kind of stuff. Spitters are fine because they can just you can pretty much juke them all day anyway. The other advantage about, okay, we need to clear that aggro first, because the other thing we can do with landmines that biters can see is if we run in with landmines in front of us, all the biters will attack the landmines instead of us, which is fantastic because it means that we can still kind of run around. There's not a lot of precision to this. We're just spraying a lot of landmines in a lot of places. And the beeping, oh, there's a cliff there. The beeping is actually kind of important. If the beeping ever goes away, that means the biters are not attacking landmines, which means they're probably attacking me, which is pretty bad. So that was a fairly effective way of cleaning out half a base. We did use, over 1,000 landmines. There's some other variations of landmine pushes we might as well show off as well. The car landmine push is going to go really badly because we're up against big biters, and the car does not have a lot of hit points. But this is the preferred way to dispense landmines in Death World and default setting speedruns, because you can do it kind of quickly and then get away to the next thing, and you're often not against big biters. Yeah, other useful things are, if you're midway through a combat, then so there's a lot of landmines for bots to clear up here afterwards anyway, but there's also just a lot of landmines still floating around for other biters to run into while you're doing other combat things. Like if you've got a tank or if you've got some other way of also dealing with nests that you're also enjoying, you might get chased by biters. You can throw some of these, more landmines down next to you and then run over them and kind of double back. The landmines are just one of the most effective ways of dealing with dense crowds of stuff, and also doing a ton of damage. I mean, I have a lot of damage upgrades, but the landmines are still an excellent source of damage. And also this was quite a big nest with quite high tier worms, and I've got more aggro than I want here. That is not a great way to be doing stuff, but it kind of worked out. For definitions of kind of. But yeah, landmines. They're a good thing. They're not a... biters aren't real. Construction robots who have to get rid of these things afterwards aren't real either. It's not a war crime. It's fine. Use landmines.